What's up, guys? This is the Gospel according to Mark with a C. He is I and I am he. Just taking some time to tell you what's on my mind. And as always, I want to set it off by thanking you, the viewer. I want to thank everyone who likes, everyone who shares, everyone who subscribes and hits the notification bell, as well as everybody who comments. I love the comments. Couldn't do it without you. Keep them coming. Listen, guys, also today I want to give a great big old shout out of thanks to all of the veterans in our country here in America. This is Veterans Day. And we'd like to remember everyone who sacrificed for our way of life, for our values and things like that, regardless of politics. The ones who go out on the front lines and, make the ultimate sacrifices, every day should be remembered today and always. So thank you from the bottom of my heart, from me and mine. Now, guys, I also have some disturbing news. I'm sure everyone is going to be reporting on it, but we've truly lost a giant in the comic industry and our pop culture. I don't know anyone who hasn't been touched by the creative contributions of Mr. Stan the Man Lee. And it is being reported that he passed away earlier. I believe it is today at the age of 95. So let me just read how this is being reported, guys. So this is a very short article I want to share with you. So this one, out of many I'm sure, is on apnews.com. And it goes on to say, comic book genius Stan Lee, Spider-Man creator, dies at 95. This is by Lindsay Bear. Comic book genius Stan Lee, the architect of the contemporary comic book, has died. He was 95. The creative dynamo who revolutionized the comics by introducing human frailties, and that's one of the things I always appreciated about Marvel. All of their characters are always so flawed and always so human. That drew me in from the very beginning, from Puny Parker to Bruce Banner, to Iron Man, who was an alcoholic in the comic. I just love the way they were connected with, humanity and all of the ups and downs that go with it. So the creative dynamo who revolutionized comics by introducing human frailties in superheroes such as Spider-Man, the Fantastic Four, and the Incredible Hulk was declared dead Monday at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center in Los Angeles, according to Kirk Shinek, an attorney for Lee's daughter, J.C. Lee. As the top writer at Marvel Comics and later as its publisher, he revived the industry in the 1960s by offering the costumes and action craved by younger readers while insisting on sophisticated plots, college-level dialogue, satire, science fiction, and even philosophy. Spider-Man, the Hulk, and the X-Men, among many others, such as the Avengers, were among the Lee creations that went on to become stars of blockbuster films. Alright, so that's the end of that very short article. And like I said before, when I think about how Stan Lee has touched my life, I don't even know if I'd be recognizable today if my mom hadn't put that old reprinted volume of Fantastic Four comics in my hand when I was a child. I remember we went into Manhattan and we just happened to pass by a newsstand and they had a Fantastic Four volume of reprinted comics, and she gave it to me and I went through it and I was looking at all this flame on and it's clobbering time and I was like, oh, it just blew my mind. And then I was off and running after that. Then Spider-Man came along and it was just, I was done. I've always loved DC. Batman is one of my favorites of all time. But Marvel's on a whole different level. And I always loved the wit of Stan Lee and the Marvel comics and the writers and the artists and everything like that. They always had this comedy to it. So when you see it in the film, it's natural, because for those of us who grew up reading the comics, that they always had that little that wit, that little comedic edge, to a lot of the the comics and things like that, as well as the dramatic stuff. So that was pretty much a trademark of Marvel, and Stan Lee was right there at the center of it. Like I said, he was practically the god of modern comics. So his impact and his contribution, he will never be forgotten. Stan Lee will be immortal, in the comics world. And I thank you, Stan Lee, wherever you are. I thank you for the impact that you had on my life and, helping me to come up with all of the qualities and attributes of someone who wanted to do the heroic thing. And, everybody talks these days about inclusion and things like that. Your comics were the very definition of defining content of character. You know, like you could read the story of, you know, different people, you know, who would put on these costumes, but you would be drawn to the things that made them or drove them or motivated them to do superhuman things. The journey to be a superhero usually started way before these people put on their costumes. You know, there was a lot that was going on in their lives. You know, there was a lot that was motivating them and almost compelling them to walk their path of destiny. So I definitely could relate to that. I think that anyone who picked up those comics and got into that alternate universe, that alternate world, and just stayed there forever, I think a lot of us can relate to that. And we can see it now, you know, by how big it is on the screen and the movies and the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So Stan Lee, Stan the Man Lee, enough said. Thank you, sir. And from my son too, who I'm able to share all of this with, he loves everything, and he's always identifying you on screen and things like that. So Stan Lee, Excelsior. This is it for now, guys. I'll catch you on the next one. This is the Gospel According to Mark with a C. Rock on.